Recently, we published the top 10 foods in the US that Aussies don't like. Today, we are turning the other cheek and discovering what food visitors to America crave. What do those living here love the most about American culinary experiences? Stick around and we'll count them down from 10 all the way to number 1.
Can you hear the thunder? Oh, you better run, you better take cover. Oh.
I want to thank the Australian Reddit community for helping me out with this one. I had a huge list of foods that did not make the top 10, including s'mores, pecan pie, and ranch dressing. There were also a few chain restaurants mentioned as go-tos, such as Chick-fil-A. We have a definite, albeit surprising, number 1. So let's make our way there with number 10. Mac and cheese. You might be surprised to learn that this is really not a big thing back home. And when you do find it, it will usually be made the traditional way by baking it as a casserole. The dish dates back to the 14th century in Italy and medieval England, where originally it was made from fresh, hand-cut pasta, which was sandwiched between a mixture of melted butter and cheese. It came to the United States by way of James Hemings. He was America's first ever classically trained French chef, who was enslaved by President Thomas Jefferson. In 1802, a dish named a pie called macaroni was served at a state dinner at the White House, and the dish was known as one of the upper class. At that stage, the macaroni still had to be handmade. Factory production of the main ingredients made the dish more affordable. Kraft Foods were instrumental in making the dish what it is now with their 1937 slogan, "Make a meal for 4 in under 9 minutes." The packaged version of the meal is now available pre-made to be baked, microwaved or cooked on the stovetop, and is the go-to dish for parents everywhere. At number 9, Gumbo. It's the official state cuisine of Louisiana, and it's a stew consisting primarily of a strong flavored stock featuring meat or shellfish and the Creole holy trinity of celery, bell peppers, and onions. The dish combines ingredients and culinary practices from several cultures, including African, French, German, Spanish, and Native American Choctaw. The name appears to have originated from West Africa, where the word gumbo means okra, a vegetable used as a thickener in gumbo. The dish gained more widespread popularity in the 1970s after the United States Senate added it to their dining room menu in honor of a Louisiana senator. For those wanting to be fully immersed in the flavors, there is an annual gumbo festival, and it's held in Bridge City, Louisiana, which is the self-declared gumbo capital of the world. At number 8, the Reuben Sandwich. Now this is one that I am a big fan of myself. Corned beef, Swiss cheese, sauerkraut, Russian dressing between 2 slices of fresh rye bread. I first tried one of these sandwiches at the famous Katz's Deli in New York City, and I've been addicted to them ever since. There are several stories as to the origin of the sandwich, and ranging from a poker game held in Omaha, Nebraska, to it being designed by Reuben Delicatessen in New York City to feed a hungry Broadway actress back in 1914. It's a sandwich that's been associated with kosher-style delicatessens, but is not actually kosher, given that it combines both meat and cheese. Coming in at number 7, Clam Chowder. This is a thick soup dish that originated in the northeastern United States back in the 1700s, but is now commonly served in restaurants all throughout the country. There are also several variations, including New England, which is white, Manhattan, which is red, or Rhode Island, which is a clear broth. The base of the soup comprises of clams, potatoes, salt pork, and onions. You'll usually be served saltine or oyster crackers with it, and for those of you down under, a clam is what we call a pippy. The dish is now popular all over the country, with there even being an annual clam chowder cook-off held in Santa Cruz, California, a competition that has now been running for over 45 years. Up next at number 6, buffalo wings. Whilst we do have wings in Australia, it is nothing on the scale of the buffalo wing culture that exists in the United States. Buffalo wings are named after Buffalo, New York, where they were invented, and don't worry, they have nothing to do with the actual animal. They are often called chicken wings, hot wings, or just plainly wings. Traditionally, they are unbreaded, usually deep fried and then coated with a vinegar-based cayenne pepper hot sauce. the melted butter prior to serving. You'll see them accompanied with celery and carrot sticks, and usually served with either blue cheese dressing or a ranch dressing. Frank Bellissimo, who was the owner of the Anchor Bar in Buffalo, is generally credited with being the inventor of the dish, but like so many food items, this is also contentious. What is not disputed is the popularity of wings and sports. Entire franchises have been built around this concept, including Buffalo Wild Wings, which started in 1982, and Hooters, which started a year later. At number 5, Southern BBQ. When it comes to American barbecue, Aussies are smitten with those smoky flavors that come, whether it's coming from Texas, Memphis, the Carolinas, Kansas City, or anywhere else in between. This is big business here in America, with the American Royal World Series of Barbecue being the largest competition of its kind anywhere in the world. I could talk for an hour on just the differences between the different types of barbecue, but to make it short, Carolina barbecue is generally about pork, and they have a unique mustard sauce. Memphis barbecue is about pork again, but it's also about the dry rub. And in Texas, beef is king, so if you want a good brisket, head to the Lone Star State, which has about as many barbecue varieties as it does has stars in the skies. And Kansas City barbecue, well, it has a lot of different meats, but it features great sauces. Sweet, tangy, and made from 2 key ingredients, ketchup and molasses. Coming in at number 4, steak. There's just something about American beef that keeps Aussies talking about it years after they first tried it. 97% of Aussie cattle are grass-fed, whereas only 4% of their American bovine cousins are. US cattle are typically fed a combination of corn and soy, which then leads to the meat having a consistently buttery flavor, more marbling and tenderness. And this is the reason why Aussies love American beef. You'll also find less consistency in the flavor of the Australian beef, as grass-fed meat is more affected by seasonal factors, and that leads to a wider variety of complex flavors and textures. Beef in Australia is more expensive, but it also contains more protein, iron, and B vitamins, whereas American beef is higher in fat and vitamin E. At number 3, key lime pie. Just the name of this dish has my mouth watering. It is similar to a lemon meringue pie back home, but it's made with key limes and traditionally a graham cracker pie shell. Now you might have it served with meringue, whipped cream, or no topping on it at all. But what makes this pie different is the key limes, which are smaller and more aromatic than the common Persian limes, and they also have yellow juice. It's the official state pie of Florida, and that was where the dish originated from in the 1930s. The last commercial crop of key limes in the US was actually destroyed by a hurricane in 1926, and these days the fruit is mainly imported from Central or South America, but it does still grow on the backyards of the Florida Keys. At number 2, we have Southern fried chicken. The commercial says nobody does chicken like KFC. Those that have been to the US know there's a lot more great options other than just Colonel Sanders' secret recipe. The dish can be traced back to Scottish and West African cuisines, but in the US, it has historically been associated with the South. It was originally a special meal for Sundays. As chicken farming became commercialized and fast food was invented, fried chicken was ready for the masses. Colonel Harlan Sanders began franchising his Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurant in the 1950s, which coincided with Harold's Chicken Shack in Chicago, and ultimately it paved the way for other chains such as Bojangles, Chick-fil-A, and Popeyes to come about. Personally, I'm a fan of Cracker Barrel's Southern Fried Chicken too, served with mashed potatoes, biscuit, or cornbread. And now it's time for the number 1 favorite thing for Aussies to eat in the US, Mexican food. Now this one surprised me in a way, but when you look at the backstory behind it, it kind of makes sense. This was overwhelmingly voted the number 1 thing to eat when coming to America. Mexican food in Australia is pretty bad. The few authentic restaurants that I've come across don't seem to last very long, and there's more of a Tex-Mex meets Australiana type feel to the ones that are there. We have a very multicultural culinary society in Australia, ranging from Indian food to Thai food and so on. So in that respect, it would make sense that Aussies are drawn to eating what is termed Mexican food when coming to the United States. I am continually told how the Mexican food here is not like it is in Mexico, or how the Mexican food in California is better than what it is in Georgia, or Texas is better than Tennessee, etc. Regardless, I'm agreeing with the masses of Aussies that say Mexican food is great and is the big thing to try when you come to America. It's not just about Mexico either. In 2020, close to 20% of the population here were Hispanic, and that number continues to grow. You'll find amazing foods from all across Latin America, from Guatemala, Argentina, and Brazil, etc. Street tacos are a must, with either pork, fish, shrimp, or even chorizo sausage. Add in some pineapple, some pico de gallo, and fresh cilantro. Yum, my mouth is watering. Also, you need to try elote, which is corn on the cob with butter, lime, and chili. My favorite dish is mole, which is a chicken dish in a spicy chocolate and cinnamon sauce. Now, I'm curious, what food would have made your list of go-to foods in America? Let me know in the comments below. Go ahead and like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, for me, I'd be happy with a plate full of fresh Gulf shrimp, a nice juicy Texas steak with a side of mashed potatoes. Finish it off with a really big slice of key lime pie. Stay safe, guys. Until next time, I'll catch you then.